I'm doing fantastic, Marcus. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. That was quite an interesting episode last night. I will say I was a little confused about why you were eliminated. I don't know why Sarah used both of her votes on you. I don't know why Troyzen and Brad went after you. Can you help make sense of this craziness?
Yeah, so basically what was happening at this point is Troyzen and Brad felt like they were on the bottom. Sarah felt like Ty was one of her number ones. Sarah also felt like Cirie was her number one, but she also didn't like that Aubrey and Cirie were getting close together. So when Sarah felt threatened by Cirie trying to use the advantage to take her vote, she looked at me as an extension of Cirie. Because if Cirie's trying to save Aubrey and I'm working with Cirie, then in Sarah's mind, there's a final three. So for Troyzen and Brad, this was their opportunity to get off the bottom. For Sarah, this was her opportunity to get at Cirie by taking a strong part of her alliance away. And that's just what it was. So, or that's as much sense as I can make out of the situation after having been through it and watched it.
Right. It was crazy. And in that moment when Jeff read the votes, and I think it was 4 votes against you, did you know where all those votes came from, or did you just learn that later on?
I knew exactly where the votes came from. That's why I spoke to Sarah directly when I walked out. But when I saw my name come up, I knew I was going home because the original plan was Aubrey, and the second plan was Ty, and no one spoke about a third plan. And so that meant the third plan was me.
So if Cirie had not caused that crazy drama with the vote steal, do you think you would still be in the game?
Heck yeah, I would 100% still be in the game. And most likely, if no one pulled any moves, Aubrey would have went home. But if we decided to work together and do something special, then, maybe Sarah would have went home. But, it definitely wouldn't have been me. I was not supposed to be number 1 or number 2 on the chopping block at that tribal council. So definitely Cirie's poor decision, her miscalculation cost me my game. But I'm not mad because Cirie's proper calculation at the merge allowed me to get past that first vote and sent Haley to the jury instead of me. So I'm not mad. And had I been aware when I was on that sit-out bench as opposed to sulking in my anger for not being picked again, then that advantage would have never had the chance to send me home because it would have been in my bag.
Right. What a crazy circle, twist of events that is.
I know.
Speaking of Cirie, we have a fan question from the Inquisitors, Kevin Jacobson. He's actually one of our writers, too. He wants to know, can you talk about your relationship with Cirie on the island? Did you guys intend to go to the final 2 or 3 together?
Yeah, me and Cirie made a final 3 pact when we were swapped tomorrow together, and then it was solidified in the merge. And the reason being was this was the first time in Survivor history, as far as I know, that 2 African American women ever made the merge. And it's an amazing feeling to have someone like Cirie on the island because she's the only person who, from a personal standpoint, can directly relate to me and my experience in the world, So it was great to have her, and we were able to connect on a level deeper than the game. I had never seen or spoke to Cirie prior to meeting her on the island, but just because my background and hers are so connected based on our experiences, that's what the fabric of our alliance and our relationship was made of. So that's deeper than the game. So I had no intention of turning my back on Cirie, and Cirie had no intention of turning her back on me. And I believe that if she would have known that her miscalculation had the shot of sending me home, she wouldn't have done it. But I do believe in her mind, what she was doing was the best thing to do to advance us in the game.
Right. I think what she did was really bold and a good move, too, and it would have worked out if not for, as she said, I didn't read the fine print.
The fine print. That's what it was. So, I'm not mad at Cirie. I'm not bitter towards Cirie. I look at it as, there were a couple things I could have done to avoid that situation altogether. So, Cirie only made 1 mistake, but I made like 3 that day. So that's why I got sent home.
Let's talk about the scene where you went to Brad and told him to go fishing, and then he came back and said you were blackmailing him. Can you explain a little bit? Because we only saw a little bit of that scene in the episode. What was the mindset there?
The mindset was a lot of people wanted to vote Brad. Brad was the first name that came up that day. However, I didn't want to vote Brad because Brad could fish. And I was starving, as you saw, all 6 of my facts, in the last episode. So I didn't want Brad to go home. I felt like Brad was not a threat to take to the end of the game because he's kind of rude sometimes, and also he's a millionaire, and a lot of people would resent that. So, I'm like, no, there's other people to send home. And the tide started turning against Andrea. At the same moment that the tide is turning against Andrea, somebody points out that Brad is missing. And I'm like, oh, snap. Now they're like, oh, he's looking for an idol, which makes people more afraid. So I took it upon myself to go find Brad. I had just told everybody, yo, we might want to keep Brad because he can fish. And so I tell Brad, yo, where you need to be is in that water fishing. Like, take this hint, go fish. Now, because I hadn't really talked to Brad because Brad refused to talk to me and kind of, treated me funky, I couldn't reveal the entire plan to him because he had no loyalty to me, and he could have just ran back to Andrea and said, Michaela said people are going to vote for you, which would have sent me home. So what I said, which lacked tact, and I recognize that, I just said, hey, Brad, if I were you, I would go fishing. And I wanted him to just take the hint and go fish. But nah, he come back, hemming and hawing, huffing and puffing, talking about Michaela's blackmailing me. And I'm like, this is why I don't talk to you. So
Brad.
that's what that was. Oh, Brad, Mr. Culpepper.
Let's talk about the family visit. What does it do for you just mentally to see your mother out there after 30-something days and to have her right there in front of you? Is that just something that completely changed your outlook on the game at that moment?
Yeah, it was such a refreshing just to see my mom. And I forgot what she said. It might not even made it to air. But something that she said was exactly how I was feeling. And it was the opposite of how I was being talked about by people on the island at that point. And it was just it felt so good to just have somebody that actually knows you and is not spreading rumors and lies about you, but just knows you. And on top of that feeling for me, it also was amazing that my mom was able to go to Fiji because, that's an experience that it would take me a lot of money or a lot of work advancing in this travel club to get to a point where I could 100% expenses paid give her that opportunity. And even though it was at my expense as it relates to trauma and starvation and struggle, even though it was at my expense, I was grateful to give her that experience because I knew that she was excited about it the first time around, and she, was told that she couldn't come on a loved one's visit. And that was because I failed, so it meant a lot to give her that opportunity. And she's excited about it. She still talks about it. It brought a lot of positivity to her, and I'm glad to have been able to give an experience to her. So that's why it meant so much.
And you're one of the few people to actually play back-to-back seasons. What does that do just emotionally and physically to go from Millennial versus Gen X right into Game Changers? It was only, a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it was like a week and a half. I was in Texas for a week and a half before I went back to California. And it was it's emotionally draining, mentally exhausting. If you look back at the very beginning, Sandra at the beginning of the game said she saw me crying the night before the game started because I had a mental breakdown. I was like, I'm about to put myself through so much trauma. Like, I'm not manipulative. Why am I out here? This is too much for me. And, I just decided to try to get it done. And it was a toll. It took a huge toll on me. And transitioning back into real life afterwards took a huge toll on me because for 5 months my life was up in the air. And, I feel like I'm just now, March of this year, I felt like I finally got my feet under me. But at the end of the day, I look at that as an opportunity cost. I had the opportunity twice at 25 and 26 years old to try, or really 25 years old. I had an opportunity twice to win $1 million. I had the opportunity twice to do something that there are people who have been applying every year for the past 10 or 15 years to do once. I had an amazing opportunity, and I feel super blessed that it came to me that way. And I just look at it as an opportunity cost. Every good thing comes with a sacrifice, and my sacrifice was a lot of trauma and a life that I had to piece back together once I got home. But I'm grateful for it, and I'm glad it happened, and I would do it all over again.
Well, that would be my final question. Then, if they call you today and say, Michaela, we want you to come back for a third time, you would say yes?
Yeah, I'd say, but let me turn 30 or 35 first, because I need to buff myself. I'm a little rough around the edges. I need to calm down. I need to get my sharp points off and become, a little mini combination of Cirie and Sandra, and then I could win $1 million.
Oh, that would be awesome. We'll be rooting for you. Well, have a great day, okay, Michaela?
Thank you, Marcus.